I'd like to thank the Coordinadora for inviting me to take part in this important debate. The topic proposed for this webinar is really extremely important. The cooperation, especially the one addressed to civil society organizations, has been redirected for some time. Since its birth until current pandemic times, there is a large and a varied path, but it has a very important feature: to bolster liberal contemporary democracies worldwide and to the commitment towards the human rights agenda. As an activist fighting for indigenous environmental and human rights from South America, I understand that cooperation, the official secular and religious cooperation, was vital in our case. It was central in order to break away from military dictatorship that characterized this region from the 60s until late 80s of the last century. The international cooperation has helped to strengthen the political actors of the organized civil society, the social movements, which are the real agents of the democratization of power. A dynamic and strong civil society, together with other democratic political forces, is responsible for a series of very relevant political agreements. I will mention a few: the construction of a new national constitution that incorporated the landmark of individual and collective rights, the development of social policies that effectively decrease the poverty and, to a lesser scale, impacted inequalities, bigger reallocation of wealth with income transfer programs. It also helped to face the social environmental issue with a harsher legislation which drastically decreased the destruction of the different biomes. The different social movements as the women's, urban, black, indigenous, LGBT were able to widen the scope of freedom and equality, defend its territories, and build legal landmark towards the defense of the social environment, the social environmental sustainability. Although still with plenty contradiction, it was almost 30 years of a democratic experience never before lived in this region. It is important to highlight that I refer to the most unequal region of the world, where historically the elite never committed to the ideals of democracy and citizenship, thus joined or strengthened a wide and predatory development of capitalism. I haven't seen this country, even in the most virtuous time of our history, being able to substantially reduce inequalities. A country that is among those who murder human rights and women activists primarily, and with a government openly declaring the annihilation of the indigenous and black population and the destruction of our forests. As an irony of fate, it was democratically elected. We have been living in one of the cruelest versions of the dystopian reality. If there is a political force within the Brazilian society that bravely fought against inequalities and multiple discrimination, it was the social movements and the civil society organizations of this active citizenship field. It is also the force that fights for visibility and representativeness in the decision-making process in spaces. This force, born from the necessity to exist and fight against the violent discrimination of the powerful elites. It is also the force that is empowered by solidary partnership of the cooperation. As the Latin American feminists say, ni una a menos, our fight has no way back. We are living in difficult and uncertain times. There is a dramatic tension between those who seek the democratization of power on one side and those who wish for more authoritarianism, control, surveillance on the other hand. There is the power of corporations co-opting governments. Rich countries that make use of xenophobia, who close borders and use verbal violence and military force as a response. The extreme right exhales the fascism. The multilateralism unveiled after World War II in a profound crisis. The COVID-19 has heated the tensions. It's an open wound. It is a symptom of many crises that have been put together since the time humanity gave up on quickly implementing the global agreements and consensus regarding human rights, to the Paris Agreement, the 23rd Agenda, and the financing for development. The COVID-19 is a warning of an environmental crisis, a climatic hecatomb, a predatory development model, food and nutrition insecurity, and historically unprecedented political and economic uncertainties. COVID-19 is a symptom of the broken system that have flourished in the past decades. Systems that are based on greed and profit, and not on the best interests of the people. Coming back to Brazil, I see once more that concrete solutions that are making a difference in people's life come from the organized civil society and the social movements. These, which are criminalized by the power on one side and abandoned by the national and international cooperation on the other side. But they are the one who remained in their missions and their alliances. It is the sector that has legitimacy, knowledge, and trust of the people, as opposed to the governments and decision makers in power. In the context of the pandemic, they are the people who are risking their lives to save others, compensating the absent state. They are the ones that articulate with political parties, progressive local governments, the approval in the National Congress of an emergency basic income meant for the unemployed and the vulnerable. These movements who organize themselves in order to provide information, food, and protection equipment to the population that needs them the most. And once again, the cooperation plays a vital and solidary role to save lives. This vein of transmission via the organized civil society have shown themselves ever more effective and positive outcomes. What are the future scenarios? It's very difficult to say. We are sailing through such uncertain times, but I believe once more that the ecofeminists are giving the key for this upcoming future. Our fight is not just an identity struggle. It is also a class struggle that places the care of life at the core of the economic and political decisions. It is a struggle that confronts the center of the patriarchy and the violence of the system. We need to articulate the idea of unrestricted and universal health and care. The civilization crisis invites us to put into motion our cognitive freedom in order to reinvent our connections, affections, ways of living, and so on. The international cooperation needs to be reinvented so that we work all together to be able to propose a new paradigm that puts the needs of people as its guiding light. And this has to be strong enough to begin a new era. These are the challenges. Change the existing system and bring about other possible worlds for the life in our planet. And nobody said it would be easy. Thank you.